beautiful, right? But look further. You'll see them. They're a restless bunch in search of beauty. There's the unyielding conquerors that won't take no for an answer. Yep, that's this place. Perfect for those who want a little more. Some people look forward to the destination, while others don't mind a cheeky detour or two in search of a little more.
Here we are, we are.
Into rallying, I suppose initially Dad used to follow Motorsport in Tassie, so I used to go to Georgetown every year to the prologue and see Targa Tassie, and we used to sit on the old yacht club roof there and watch it around the streets of Georgetown, so that's probably where the interest started. And yeah, we've done the Adelaide Rally twice now. We did it years ago when it was under Targa Adelaide, and then a couple of years ago we were there. It's a different atmosphere to Targa Tassie, you know, being so close to a major population base up in the hills and everything. It's pretty cool roads, you know, different in nature to Tassie, but very challenging and tight and twisty. I think the 130 limit will tighten the grid up. It's more of a fair playing field to some of the, you know, to a wider range of cars. You know, when you talk the big horsepower supercars, you know, they get the legs on, you know, above that kind of speed. Where I think the Subaru and light cars will come into their own, you know, up to that 130 limit. I end up getting the Subaru because obviously following Colin McRae growing up in that age group, but also being a Subaru dealer, it was a pretty natural thing to jump into a Subaru. You know, the amount of cool cars involved in the event, you know, the lunch stops you roll in there, it's like this amazing motor show, but you know, the cars have been used, so that's great to see. You know, the parties of the night have been pretty memorable as well, you know, the street parties, but you know, the corkscrew is pretty cool, you know, and the gorge is pretty cool. So yeah, all of it as a whole, it's been a great experience, and you know, tarmac, yeah, it's just a different style of tarmac rallying to you know, the other events around the country. As for our goals this year, you know, I think last time we came we were second, so we'll always like to go one better.
The bottom of Mount Lofty, that's where we're headed. The final day, stage number 1, heads up to the highest point in South Australia, up at Mount Lofty. Awesome stage, this one. Really cool. Great piece of road up Green Hill Road and towards the summit. We're looking forward to this one ahead. As you can see, the final course car is heading up the stage now before the first car heads up there. This is day 3 with 2 of the Shannon's Adelaide Rally for year. There's 30 stages this evening in Victoria Park. It's CBD on the 500 circuit. A portion that will be closed to rally cars later this afternoon. Way to kick off. You can see all the cars lined up, ready to go. Team. We have to thank the SA government and the SATC, South Australian Tourism Commission, getting this event up and running once again in 2022, and they can event. Of course, Shannon's as well, the naming rights sponsor. Of course, Shannon shares your passion as a motoring enthusiast. We've got to also thank the Bosch Motorsport. They're sponsoring the live stream that you are watching this from, the Bosch Motorsport live stream. This is the penultimate live 6 stages after this before we get to Victoria Park this afternoon. About just before 3 o'clock, cars are scheduled to run through their local time. Brilliant drone footage of the foothills here in Adelaide. We're only about 10 minutes from the CBD, surprisingly pretty much directly east of the CBD and the Victoria Park circuit itself. Such an effort to get this event up and running once again this year. Total of 135 roads closed. We've got 326 volunteer officials that have been helping us get the roads closed and everything organised. It's such a team effort, and yeah, without everybody the event simply would not be possible. Good to see a few people just beginning to appear as well at the start of the stage, and I'm sure there's people up the top possibly watching the live stream as well. Yes, this stage quite an important one. There's a little trophy handed out for the winner of this stage. That's the prestige that this stage holds in its own right. So at the end of the day, the winner of this stage will receive the King of the Mountain trophy. So that's something that everybody will be looking forward to. Even if you finish 8th overall, if you take home a trophy, I mean that's perfect, isn't it? This area up to Mount Lofty, as I say, brilliant view up there. We've got a brilliant view from where we are a little bit further down the hill, but from Mount Lofty it's the best view in Adelaide, that is for sure. It overlooks Adelaide, the hills, the ocean and everything around. It really is the best view. Also Cleveland Wildlife Park just a few hundred metres away from it as well. Look at that, the McLaren spoiler going up on the first of the tour cars. We're not too far away from action getting underway on the final day of running. Few spots of rain, just a sprinkling beginning as the final stage is set to commence, and does so as the McLaren roars into the first turn. You can see it's quite a tight uphill chicane, the first section of road. Then it's a long left-hander for a hairpin, and then another uphill left-handed kink. So a brilliant start to this stage, and it just shows the elevation straight away, and that rain is just beginning to increase. I reckon the windscreen wipers might start to be used. Some fantastic houses as well up here on either side. You can see it's a great part of Adelaide, as I say, only 10 minutes from the CBD, as we see the lovely BMW M4 head up through the S's, and closely followed by a McLaren. Look at the 4 exhaust out the rear of that. That really does look spectacular. Flat 6 of the Porsche GT3 RS, and that's closely followed by another McLaren. That blue one there is the 650 McLaren 650S, and this also a 650S, followed by a Toyota Gazoo Yaris. Sounds good, doesn't it? Martini sponsored Porsche, one of my favourite presented cars this weekend. I've mentioned it many times on the live stream. They may regret the decision. In a second you'll see a Lamborghini come through. Here it is, the green Lamborghini. No roof The roof has been taken down. They may be regretting that decision as the rain begins to fall. We're not expecting much rain this afternoon. There's only a 10% chance of any rain, so we're surprised that we've got any at this point, but this afternoon's stage looks crystal clear at this point in time. So this section here, the Mount Lofty stage, 7.4 kilometres in length, and it's uphill all the way. Look at the gradient. That camera shot shows that beautifully from the start line. Looking up towards the first turn of the stage, you can really see the gradient up the hill there as we await the second tour. So in case you haven't tuned into the live stream so far this weekend, the cars coming through at the moment are part of the tour. They're just out having a bit of fun, enjoying the stages. They're limited to 110 kilometres an hour, which on these sort of roads, it's incredibly unlikely you will get up to those speeds anyway. So these guys are pushing, some of them just as hard as the competition cars. So the competition, the outright trophy class, that'll be coming a little later on, about 45 minutes time. Beautiful supercars coming through at the moment. So this coming through at the moment is the Zagami Tour. Loads of different supercars, including there a Ford GT from 2005. So we look a little bit further up the hill to the hairpin. Really are some great machines. There's that Ford GT from the mid-noughties, and that's followed by a mid-noughties Ferrari, the Ferrari F430, and then something a little older, the little Ferrari Testarossa back from 1986. The Zagami Tour, one of the biggest in the state, in the rally. 50 cars in total in this little tour. We'll see later on, there'll be some Audi tours coming through, BMW Mini Tour, etc. But for now, it's the Zagami Tour. It's the supercars that we'd all love to own, wouldn't we? The McLarens, the Lamborghinis, the cars that we have up on our bedroom wall when we are young kids. Such as, yeah, this Lamborghini V10 Howl up the hill. Up next on the start line, car number 141, a Ferrari 488 GTB. It's been out for several years now, the 488, that's 2018. Of course, Ferrari now producing the F8. Something a little different, Fiat 500 above. Money, one of the best value for money cars, that little Fiat. Such performance from such a small little package, voted many times from many different companies around the world as the best car of the year, simply because value for money is simply sensational, both in terms of speed and in terms of fun, and that's what you want from a car like that, a little hot hatchback. It really does produce all fun. So we await the next tour to come up the hill. So as I say, this Zagami Tour, over 50 entries in this one. They have to split this class up into several mini tours, I suppose you'd call it, containing about 15 or 20 cars each. 145, I don't recall seeing that this weekend. That's a 1977 Ferrari 400 GT. Yeah, don't recall seeing that so far this weekend. There it is going around the hairpin now, followed by that lovely bright orange Lambo. Really is a magical start to the stage. Particularly love this hairpin. SUV swings it around, turn. Listen to that beautiful V10 roar up the hill. How good does that sound? Awesome, awesome. Tour leader 10 at the bottom of the start lights, I believe. That was driven by Steve Pizzati yesterday. I imagine he'll be at the wheel again today. He roars up the hill. He certainly knows how to drive a car quickly. It is indeed Steve Pizzati at the wheel as we head around the chicane. The Audi R8's coming through, Audi RS4 also. Such a variety of Audis. They really are sought after vehicles at the moment, producing the R8, the RS4, and the SUVs are really popular as well as the e-tron. The electric Audi SUV also heads up the hill. Not too many electric cars in the Tour this year. There it is, that white machine, the all-electric Audi SUV. As I say, not too many electric vehicles on this Tour. So many big V8s and V10s, flat sixes from the Porsches. Very, very few electric vehicles. So we are now very much in the Audi Tour. See the next vehicle heading up the hill. So yes, we're in the Solitaire Automotive Tour. So that includes Aston Martin V8 Vantages, as we can see one just go by. We've got Jaguar F-Paces, Alfa Romeo 4Cs, Alfa Romeo Giuliettes, and everything in between. A fair few Mercs. As we see the 250 machine stream past around the first chicane. It's Darren Grosser driving that machine. That was an Aston Martin V8 Vantage, and we see that now heading into the hairpin. Oh, just out the hairpin, sorry, a bit further on. Some of these guys, as I say, although they're not competing against the clock, they are certainly pushing. And yeah, see some speed in which they're heading up the hill. The competition guys competing for the overall Adelaide Rally, they're coming in around 45 minutes. They're around 40 minutes now, so not too far away. And as I say, they will be competing for the Mount Lofty Trophy, titled the King of the Mountain, for winning the Mount Lofty stage. It doesn't matter where you finish overall in the rally, this stage itself. There's a little prize just because it's such a sought after stage, so popular amongst the drivers. Everybody looks forward to this one year after year. As we see the 4C take off. And the Giulia, the reasonably new built Alfa Romeo, looks fantastic, particularly in that blue. Alfa Romeos have been around for so many years in motorsport back in the day, and of course at the moment sponsoring the Formula 1 team, of course, but not for too much longer. course, Audi taking over that team, that Formula One team in coming years. Factory Audi team, very much looking forward to Audi joining the Formula One grid in coming years. Magnificent shot of the start of this stage. So such a sharp gradient up the hill. Such a local event, this one in South Australia. Everything, and I mean all companies for everything except for insurance, which is Shannon's and the vehicle monitoring systems. Everything else is SA produced and gone through SA companies. It's a very local event in that sense, and that's the way we like it. Oh, lots of tyre squeal for the Merc around the first turn there. Up through the chicane. Can't see the shot of that car, it'll be coming the hairpin now. There it is. He was pushing so hard. Back end stepped out on him around the turn. Brilliant drone shot. You're giving a bit of a toot down at turn 1, and as he goes up the hill continues to do so. .307, that's Ben at the wheel of that machine tooting away. Another person pushing at turn number 1, that's 322. Shane. Again heading up to the hairpin. So we got lots of tour entries, as you can see, continuing to come through, and they will do for another 35 minutes or so before the competition class cars come out. It's getting a bit tighter up the front. On day 1, as Selly was leading early on, and Lovell overtook late in the day and extended that margin. It was out to as high as 43 seconds at one stage yesterday, but just towards the end of the day, Sally back down. And heading into day 2, it's only just over 20 seconds. So it's all to play for on the final day of competition. It's 28 seconds the margin, so 15 seconds was cut in yesterday's afternoon stages. So lots to look forward to in that. It's also very, very, very tight between 4th position and 8th position. 4th and 5th are separated by just the single second, but there's only 17 seconds separating 4th and 8th coming into the final day. So this is a crucial stage for those cars when they come through a little bit later on. For now, we can enjoy watching these Mercs come through our screens. So this is the Mercedes AMG Tour. Large variety of Merc vehicles, from the A45 to the C63 and E63, and then the bigger machines, the SUVs as well. Really just showcase the German manufacturers' brilliant machines. Tyre squeal there you could hear. So heads up the hill. If you are watching the live stream and enjoying what you're seeing, remember the Victoria Park stage concludes proceedings later on today. So if you are enjoying the live stream, make sure you head down to Victoria Park 3 o'clock, just before 3 o'clock. The final stage commences, so you've got to enter through East Terrace. So of course Wakefield Road's closed off and most of the parkland section as well. So you've got to go around the back, enter from East Terrace, and get in the grandstand. Free event, no charge. So head up into the grandstand and watch the final stage of the rally, and that's followed by some roll racing. There's a few F1 cars there, a few Supercars superstars, Brody Kostecki, local hero Todd Hazelwood, and Lounsey, Craig Lowndes, 3-time Bathurst winner, will be there as well. So there'll be some roll racing, drag racing, but with a rolling start. They'll be knocking each other out. There'll be some elimination knockouts. It's all going to be really entertaining stuff as we move from Audis to the flat 6 Porsches. Once again, superb drone footage of the start of this stage. See the lovely flat 6 Porsches. That was a 172 just flying past the screen. Bit of an older Porsche, that one, 172. A 2008 911 GT3. GT3 models are always the loudest. That's why it was louder than that 911 going through. GT3s, of course, are the fastest of the Porsches. You can see the roof down on that Porsche. Good news is the rain has stopped for the moment. There was only a light sprinkling. So now we are clear of any rain. And it looks to me like the rain, as we can see from the city, it's a superb view we've got from the streaming base. And the drone as well can see that, but it looks like the rain's going through the city right now. And it looks like it's north of the city, so we're ever so slightly southeast. Well, we're very much east and ever so slightly south of the city. So I hope and I believe we should not get any more rain in this stage. But I have been known to be wrong about the weather on many, many occasions. So we're just awaiting the next group of cars to come through, as the Porsches continue to head up the hill. As I say, a 7.4 kilometre stretch of road up to Mount Lofty, one of the very best in South Australia, up Green Hill Road and onto Mount Lofty Summit Road. Two magnificent pieces of tarmac ribboned around the Adelaide hills. It really is glorious, and you sort of get a perspective. So there we see the city. I believe it's raining down there. I'm quite sure of that, but that looks like it's going to miss us, I believe. That's heading directly east, not southeast, fortunately. So just got a little bit of a hold on stage at the moment as a few course cars head up the hill, including a recovery vehicle. So there may be an incident a little bit further up the hill. So there may be a delay for the time being. While we're waiting for the next on-stage action, we'll throw to a quick interview. We'll be back shortly.
Rallying was something which I did when I was very young, and I used to drive on the gravel side of rallies in South Africa and India. Subsequent to that, went through a massive life. This is part of the midlife crisis where I've jumped into it, and I dragged along young Sam to be part of my midlife crisis.
So yeah, I don't have a lot of rally background. Obviously watched quite a few on TV, been to a few in the UK and through Europe and stuff when I've been over there. Just as a spectator. But then last year had the opportunity to support Zach with just the mechanical side of things for an entry up at Cairns, and then got asked afterwards if I'd like to sit in the car and see what it was all about. And I went, well, yeah, why not? Let's see what it is.
Once before. So Sam and I did the Adelaide last year, and we had a very good time. That was the first rally that we're sitting on the car and doing it, and it was a brilliant rally for us. The taking off from the city and back to the city was brilliant. It gave us all the infrastructure and support to be based around one area itself. And secondly, the roads were, of course, one of the most phenomenal roads once had. And it was easy to get into it. Quick, short stages and some of the medium, long stages. It really helped us, bed ourselves into the rally.
Yeah, from my side, it just, we've done a lot of different styles of ride. Like I said, there's a lot of short, technical, twisty sections, and there's some kind of longer ones where you can get really settled into a car. In terms of an event to go to, it's definitely one of the top ones to go to, in my opinion. Very enjoyable. Being a little bit shorter, it's a bit nicer. You don't have to block out 2 or 3 weeks of your calendar to make it work. Easy to get to, easy to get around, and lots to do in Adelaide while you're there, outside of the rally too.
Adelaide, of course, being the beautiful winery region and everything else that we have there, right? And the roads have been laid out in a very safe manner for the rally, with Armcos and the hills outside.
Yeah, definitely. The thought that goes into the planning for the event down there is incredible, and the way they pull it off is just very well done.
Yeah, using a 911, which has been 4-digit to a 993. The car has been set up brilliantly, actually, and Sam is quite hands-on with the setup. And one of our locals, Craig Datson in Adelaide local, who is give us support in the rally side of things out there, who's a brilliant team person for us out there in the mechanical side. It is a nice little car that we are sitting in. White livery, Retromotive livery as our branding is. And you'll see that when we come to Adelaide this year. The car more sits up with a brand profile of a brand of Retromotive, the company, the magazine being on the side, and it suits the profile being a classic car of that era. Sits very well with the brand. Definitely the challenging sections with the car, because the car's been set up very well to tackle the Adelaide rally now. So we're looking forward to those hill climbs and the quick ziggy parts that's going to come up. We've never done an Adelaide 500 track before,
No,
really, yeah.
So we're really looking forward to that.
Exciting.
A little bit of a change of pace from the rest of the roads, but it should be very good.
Yeah, it is a cohesive event that comes together, So looking forward to it again this year.
Welcome back to stage 23 of the Shannon's Adelaide Rally 2023. We're not exactly sure what's happened further up the stage, but there is a brief hold in proceedings at the moment. We saw a recovery vehicle heading up there, and we do have a bit of a smell coming through, a sort of burning smell of some description anyway, so not entirely sure what has happened further up the stage, but certainly something has occurred. Great to see the fans out in force, sitting in trees and on the side of the road. Really good to see a good crowd turned up for this one. Certainly an iconic stage of South Australia, that is for sure. So we are still on hold at this point. You can see several Porsches lined up on the grid ready to go. But at this point in time, no on-stage action as the cars continue. The cars that were already on the stage will just be finishing, so there is a hold in proceedings. So this is stage 23, the first stage of the day. 30 stages in total this year. Up next there's a stage at Mylor, then they move on to Strathalbyn Hill. That's another cracking stage, 5.74 kilometres in length. Then Bull Creek, Doctors Creek, Aldgate Valley, Sturt Valley, another brilliant piece of road, and then Vic Park to finish. So it's around a lap and a half of the shortened Adelaide circuit, so the Adelaide Street circuit, but it uses Wakefield Road, but they go through the centre chicane, turn hard right onto Wakefield Road, and then turn hard right once again back into the Parkland section. So utilises the Victoria Park section of the road. So it uses the Victoria Park section of the road, and as well as that, the Wakefield Road section of tarmac. While we are waiting, I believe Dylan down there is going to do an interview. Over to you, Dylan. I've been told he's not quite ready yet, so sorry about that. So yeah, we will await, just find out what exactly is happening down there. He's a man on a mission trying to work out what's going on.
Adam's camera rotated the thing around a bit. High quality, was it?
So
It's like going up there, you're just following the cables.
Of course, South Australia and Adelaide, great to have motorsport back in this part of the world. Of course, the Adelaide 500 returning next week, and the Adelaide Motorsport Festival returning next year. Both of those thanks to the South Australian Labor government, the Malinowskis government. I believe we are now ready down at the start line.
They're not going that far. It smells like it.
2022 Adelaide Rally down here at the start line with Peter Mayer and his Porsche Cayman S. How are you enjoying the rally here, Peter?
Oh, having great fun, yes. There's enough tight sections where you can really use the car to its maximum despite the speed limits. And then on the other parts we just cruise and then get ready for the next tight lot.
And the Porsche, how's it handling the run?
This car almost dances when it's in corners. It absolutely loves it. Turns in beautifully. Yes, it's just very easy to control.
Fantastic. And how long have you had it for?
I've had it for 5 years, and it's a 2014. So, and I do regular events with the Bosch Club, sprints, and then the occasional rally as a non-competitive car, because I don't want to put a roll cage in it. So.
Excellent stuff, and I think that might be all we've got time for, Peter. Thanks very much.
Great insight down there at the start line. We're about to cut to another interview. They're doing some hard work down there at the start line. Back over to you, boys.
So your day-to-day job with the drone, what sort of jobs do you do? Aerial shots for people. A lot of stuff with these guys now, but just like real estate, property.
They're going, Matt. They're going.
Drivers are jumping back into the car. Sorry about that. So we are ready to get back underway. Brief delay there. We are ready to get back started. A great interview there with the driver of TF16, and away he goes. The rain is just beginning to drizzle once again, but nothing enough to wet the road, that's for sure. See the flat six Porsches head back up the hill. Once more the beautiful sounding flat six motors. So unique, you can hear them from a mile away. Such a unique sound. So many supercars taking the V-option, V8, V10. Porsche have always stuck with their flat six formula. To me, there's nothing greater than a grid of Porsche Cup cars at the start line, 30 of them on the rev limiter. It really is something to behold. We'll see them come down into turn number one. Good variety of cars. There's a little Cayman going through screens now and up the hill. Subaru Impreza at the tail of that little group there. Didn't that sound good? Popping and spluttering its way up the hill. Very different to the V6s that came before it, that is for certain. An area we haven't really visited in South Australia or on the Adelaide Rally stages this year is the Barossa wine region. So well known internationally for the wines in the Barossa Valley, dating back to some of the oldest wines in the world, dating back to 1843. Really is phenomenal, and such a part of the South Australian tourism. Just awaiting cars again on the start line. Of course, not only motorsport returning to the heart of Adelaide, but of course cycling next year. We've got the return of the Santos Tour Down Under after a number of years away due to COVID-19. Of course, we seem to be moving on from that now. International travel is once again, well, becoming a bit more easier anyway. Not quite back to 100% normality, but certainly easier to travel internationally. So the international cyclists will be returning to Adelaide and taking on the Adelaide Hills and the Florio Peninsula in January next year. The event taking place from the 13th to the 22nd. Of course, the tennis, also Adelaide taking on a tennis tournament on War Memorial Drive, and that's also going to be taking place in January, just prior to the Australian Open. There's certainly lots to sink your teeth into sport-wise over the coming months. The much needed summer after some what's felt like a very, very long winter, hasn't it? Certainly not the weather we've come to know in Australia over the years. Some flooding, of course, in the eastern states, and here in South Australia we've had some really bad storms in recent weeks. Just 14 days ago, recovering from a terrible storm. It really was knocking out a tenth of all of Adelaide's households' power. So fortunately, roads have been able to be clear because there were so many hundreds of thousands of trees down and people without power. But fortunately, the South Australian CFS crew have just worked long, hard hours and have managed to clear all the roads and get all houses back on in terms of power, and we've been able to host this Adelaide Rally without issue, which is fantastic. It really, really is. As you see the view from the start line heading up the hill, and a view of the city. The high-rises, the way Adelaide is, you can just make out Adelaide so easy. It's the only high-rise buildings as you look out over into the sea. As you look onto the horizon, all the high buildings are of course right in the heart of Adelaide, the Adelaide CBD. That's where we'll be headed this afternoon for the Victoria Park Sprint, which concludes the Shannon's Adelaide Rally this year. Stage 30. There's plenty going on down there later on this afternoon. That takes place at just before 3 o'clock. And activities, on-track activities, including Formula One cars, and even a British touring car, I understand, will be down there, an old British touring car. So make sure you get down there for all things motorsport. Certainly not something you want to miss, and it sort of kicks off the festivities of the week, really, as we build up for the return of the Adelaide 500. Commencing on Thursday, Supercars with one practice session, and then of course the two race format, 250 kilometres on Saturday and 250 kilometres again on Sunday. Great support categories listed as well: S5000, Touring Car Masters, Super 2 and 3, as well as GT World Challenge Australia and the Aussie racing cars. Every single category there I love, so I'm very much looking forward to that. There is actually an S5000 that will be at Vic Park later on this afternoon. Mike Rosser at the wheel of that machine. That's certainly not something to be missed. Of course, a lot of the GT cars, there'll be some GT cars there, many of which are GT versions of what we're seeing in front of us at the moment. Such as your Porsche 911s, your Lamborghini Huracans, your Ferraris, etc. As we begin the BMW E. And as the name suggests, it's full of BMWs and Minis, and we commence with the short and small little Minis. As the first of the Clubman comes up. Of course, Cooper and the Clubman very different. The Clubman being a much bigger four-door machine, the Mini a lot shorter. Several Clubmans actually. the clubman's going through the screen at the top of the hairpin now. Of course, Mini briefly entered the World Rally Championship around a decade ago now. Weren't able to deliver the performances they were after and soon left. BMW, of course, a rich history in motorsport. They'll be returning to sports car racing next year with the IMSA Sports Car Championship, and beyond that in 2024 they will return to Le Mans. So this showcasing all of the BMW products from M2, M3, M4, M5, M6 and a lot of the other machines. Here's a nice M5 coming through. That sounds fantastic, it really does. I believe that one with the V10. So yeah, a few different ages coming through as well, some modern BMWs and some older BMWs as well. One just about to appear here. It is a very new BMW. You can tell by the grille. That grille is going to be on the new hypercars in the IMSA Sports Car Championship and WEC, the iconic BMW grille that's sort of divided opinion across the motorsport community, but it certainly makes the BMWs look distinctive, doesn't it? And here's another one now coming into the first chicane. As we see many more BMWs continue to stream off the start line in a glorious... I'll let you listen to this one. Doesn't that sound good? That was number 364. See, continues to head up the hill. Rain has once again stopped. The wind is now slightly picked up. It looks crystal clear in the city now. Great conditions down there. Sunlight I can see. We haven't got any sunlight down here at the start of this stage. Hopefully it's a little bit clearer up at the top of Mount Lofty as we see a beautiful BMW coming through, car number 370. That was a 1969 BMW 2002, and then that's followed by a very, very new BMW. So there's the 2002 going through from 1969, and it's followed by a very new BMW, or reasonably new in comparison, that's for certain, within the last few years. So we await the next set of cars. We now move on to the Hyundai N machines. Overnight, spoiler alert, Hyundai once again taking the WTCR Championship. They've done that on several occasions. The first one, of course, with Gabriele Tarquini, but yes, last night taking yet another WTCR title, the last before it's renamed and rebranded for next year. And of course, that formula will be coming down under, international touring cars coming to Bathurst in 2023. But yeah, it was Mikel Azcona who secured the title, driving the Elantra actually. It wasn't an i20 or i30, it was an Elantra. Yeah, sealed the title, and Hyundai taking the team's championship as well. Listen to the wheel spin. Certainly racing pedigree these Hyundais have now. The N models are super, super fast, as I say, not only in TCR, but of course in the World Rally Championship. Thierry Neuville and Oyt Tanak ended the 2022 WRC season very strongly, but unfortunately were very much on the back foot early in the season, and that allowed Toyota and the factory Gazoo Yaris, driven by Kalle Rovanperä, to take the 2022 World Rally Championship. You can hear some of the wheel spin, I believe, even from the drone footage. course, all the cars, or pretty much all the cars we've had through so far, have been rear-wheel drive. These front-wheel drive, you can hear them wheel spinning up the hill. Just coming around the first turn now, that's the new Hyundai Kona N, the only one of its kind in this Adelaide Rally, and that is a Cool Drive sponsored Hyundai XL heading up the hill. Of course, Adelaide's Todd Hazelwood, who will be on track at Vic Park later on, he'll be moving to the Cool Drive Racing team in the Supercars Championship next year from Matt Stone Racing. Of course, Holden's last race weekend, incredibly, next weekend in the Supercars Championship. Hard to believe that the Holden chapter is so close now. There'll of course be a Holden parade around the circuit next weekend, as we see a large variety of cars coming up the hill at the moment. We have now moved on the Tour. We've gone from the Hyundai Tour to the we've moved on from the Hyundai Tour to the GH Garage Tour, so a large variety of vehicles heading up the hill at the moment, anything from Honda Civics to old Porsches and modern day McLarens, so there really is a large variety of machines heading up the hill just at the moment. That's why it's a really good tour to view, the GH Garage Tour. One of my favourites is coming around the first turn, the Maserati Quattroporte. And here comes a Subaru Impreza. Doesn't that sound good? Listen to that roaring up the hill, fantastic. Enters the second turn, or second sequence. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant as it roars up the hill. It's already not too far behind the Maserati Quattroporte. So being a 7 kilometre stage, I am quite sure that Subaru will be ahead of the stage. Got no cars at the start line, so a little bit of holding in proceedings. As I say, these are the Tour cars coming through at the moment. They're not fighting for competition, they're just having fun driving on all the stages. They're limited to the national road speed limit of 110. As you can see, the fans are lining the fence at the start line. It's positioned at the start line. Not too far away now from commencement of the next group of cars, but the main competition cars are coming very shortly now. And they're fighting for the outright Adelaide Rally victory in 2022. But not only that, on this stage, they'll also be fighting for the King of the Mountain trophy, the winner of the Mount Lofty stage. So this stage in itself, unlike any other stage, this one has its own trophy for the winner. Fastest person through will take that honour, no matter where they finish the rally overall. So that's for the 40 competition cars still to come. I'll talk you through the order of that a little later on and who sits where. But for now, we await the next group of cars. Again, you see the brilliant drone footage brought to you by the streaming team. Small group of guys, but they put in a hell of an effort and bring you some fantastic shots. They certainly deserve a lot of credit for what they have brought over the last few days. We streamed 2 stages on Friday, 2 stages on Saturday. This is the first today, and we end in the city, just through the trees that you can see. That's ending in Victoria Park at around 3 o'clock this afternoon. Make sure you tune in for the stream for that one. Of course, Adelaide, known for its food and wine culture, as we say. But there's so much more to this state than that. Of course, If you go north, you'll end up in the Flinders Ranges, and even in the city itself, of course, the Adelaide's so much to offer here in Adelaide. While we await the next cars, we're going to a quick package.
I'm Charlie Dixon. I'm driving McLaren GT from Zagami. I think it was the third stage. I've loved that, and then seeing all the amazing cars has been awesome as well, and the community that these guys at Adelaide Rally have put together, and to have all these cars and all these people here in Adelaide is awesome.
So if you're from Queensland and wondering whether it's worth the trip all the way down to Adelaide, absolutely. The Adelaide Hills have the best driving roads in Australia. With these classic stages that are coming back on song, you've got the likes of Gorge Road, which has now been called Cherryville. You can still go and do the things like the corkscrew. We've got Mount Lofty. They're all tight and twisty, and you can take them flat out. The stages that we've got here, the times that you're going to be over 130k are rare. It's going to be down to driver ability, not who's got the most horsepower in a straight line. I can't wait.
Beautiful, right? But look further. You'll see them. They're a restless bunch in search of beauty. There's the unyielding conquerors that won't take no for an answer. Yep, that's this place. Perfect for those who want a little more.
Welcome back to day 3 of the Shannon's Adelaide Rally. You're watching the Bosch Motorsport live stream. As you can see, we have cars once again back on the stage and heading up the hill. I'll let you listen to this Porsche. Awesome sound, absolutely fantastic. Oh, a bit of, he lost the back end actually around turn number 1 in front of where I am. Managed to keep control though. Yeah, that was a bit of a moment out of turn 1 and into that slow, tight chicane. We can see from our position there the drone footage. So that's the chicane I'm referring to. Really steep little section actually. They negotiate a sharp right-hander and then a very long, very tight left-hander as well, onto a little bit of a straight before a right-handed hairpin up a hill, and then they head off after the hairpin into a left-handed kink and head off up the rest of the stage. I can smell some burnt rubber, so somebody's certainly burnt some tyres off the start line. As the Volvo S60 follows the Alpine A110. So there's the Alpine, and there is the Volvo, who's really pushing into the hairpin and up the hill. Just going to leave you for a moment with these lovely images of the rolling Adelaide Hills. Up next we have a Holden Tirana. Listen to this as it roars up the hill. This will be quite something. It's not too far away. Of course, the very history of the Holden brand here. Of course, Jim Richards and Peter Brock winning Bathurst together in a SLR 5000. Sorry, a Tirana S5000. We're not too far away from seeing that roar up the hill, and trust me, it is a roar. The Red Lion does very much roar that Holden Tirana, as it's shown throughout the stages so far this weekend. Certainly a crowd favourite, gets all heads turning. And if you haven't got your camera out already, if you're aligning the stage, I would recommend it, because this sounds absolutely fantastic. Revs the building. How good did that sound as it pulled away from the lights? You can see it continue up the hill. It's followed by a little Mazda, and then behind we have the future. So we've gone from Holden's past, the Holden Tirana one with Peter Brock, to the future of Supercars with the Chevrolet Camaro, that red machine that has just gone out of shot. In the shot at the moment we have a black Maserati. I can still smell the burnt rubber from the Holden Tirana that took off quite a while ago, as we have a couple, or a singular at this point, very, very old Porsche heading up the hill. And here the Peugeot. Here is that old Porsche I'm referring to, that red machine heading up the hill and around the left-handed king. Such a climb all the way up these 7 kilometres to the highest point in South Australia, Mount Lofty. And that's why the winner of this stage will take home the King of the Mountain trophy. Aptly named, I feel. We saw a new Alpine A110, and here is the original roaring down to the chicane. You'll see it in shot in just a moment as it comes towards the hairpin now. Here it is in all its glory. Doesn't it look marvellous in these, at this point in time, overcast conditions, blustery conditions on the Sunday morning, just 10 to 15 minutes outside of the Adelaide CBD. As you can see, the time 10:37 and 46 seconds local time. That are the official times that we are here in Adelaide. Of course, if you're watching the Bosch live stream, you can watch that from anywhere, not only in the nation but around the world as well. You can tune in from England, Italy, and wherever. You can even watch it from Qatar if you're over there watching the World Cup. I doubt there's too many though watching from there at this time of day, very early in the morning in Qatar, that is for sure. Of course, spoiler alert once again, Australia taking a famous victory, of course, overnight over Tunisia. But more locally, of course, we've got a lot of sporting action to look forward to. Adelaide 500, of course, returning next week, and as I said already, tennis early next year. Not only tennis, but also, here we go, look at the crowd giving us a wave, giving the camera a wave. They're enjoying the action that they're seeing down at the first corner on this stage number 23. Not too far away from the next car. And this is another one that so far this weekend has just sounded magnificent. Every corner, every stretch of road it's driven on, and it's certainly driven on a fair few stretches of road. By the end of the weekend, 136 roads it will have driven. That is, of course, if it completes all of the stages. 135 roads have been closed for this year's event. It's 326 volunteers as well making this possible. We're racing in 7 different councils this year. Lovely, the green Porsche heading into the chicane, driven by Percat. I'll let you listen to a few of these cars on the start line. I'm getting a smell of burning rubber from where I am, that is for certain. Really, really awesome stuff away from the start line. A real diverse range of cars heading up the hill at the moment. This is now the main tour, as we see the 441 Maserati Grand Sport, and I've got to speak over the 2006 built machine with the John Highland wheels so loud as it heads up the hill. Yeah, this is the main tour coming through now. Over 50 entrants in this tour. Toyota really pushing the Gazoo Yaris. Here it comes into shot now. He's really pushing hard into the hairpin. You see him flick it in. Nicely hits the apex. Good exit as well. Yeah, he's really pushing. This is another car that will simply roar up the hill. It's not a quiet and peaceful machine, this one. Not very elegant, as you will hear in a moment. I say that, and that's his quietest start of the weekend. Commentator's curse for you. That's the first one of the weekend anyway. As you see another old machine, another Holden Tirana off the start line. As I say, Holden of course ending they're running in the Touring Car Championship next weekend in Adelaide. There will be a Holden Tour, a parade for so many Holden vehicles from all the years, dating back to the XU1 Tirana and everything in between to the present ZB Commodore that we are finishing with. As we see the first of the Ford Mustangs heading up and into the chicane. Again, another unique sounding car. That's followed by a Lotus Elise. You can't find two more different rear-wheel drive cars really, from a big American muscle car to a tiny little British sports car. And here we have a Jaguar E-Type, ladies and gentlemen. Entrant number 457. That's Vin at the wheel. Enjoying himself, a 70-year-old Vin heading up the hill. It's an event for all ages. Bit of a wave to the camera around the first turn there. But yes, this event caters to everybody. The young kids, as we saw on the camera shot just before, to the adults out there as well that will be joining some of these older cars that are currently heading up the hill. There's an MGB GT coming up as well. That's just gone around the first couple of corners and coming towards the hairpin now. Oh, a bit of a moment putting the power down. You could hear several stabs of the throttle trying to get the traction down in the Mazda out of the second turn. Such a steep climb out of turn 2. You've got to be very patient on the throttle or else you will burst into wheel spin if you have a lot of power under your right foot. You can still hear it roaring up the hill now, or I can. Not sure if you can hear it down at the start line. But we are awaiting the next car to head up, which is a Porsche by the looks. And here it is, just on cue. A nice little Carrera, 911 Carrera on the start line, ready for the off. Radford at the wheel of the German-built machine. Not too far away now from the outright class, who are competing for the Adelaide Rally. That's not too far away. Listen to that. So this car coming up the hill now is a former Carrera Cup car. didn't it sound good off the start line? So yeah, that is a former Carrera Cup car being converted back to a rally car. But it still has that same noise. We've seen the history of Holden with the Tirana. Of course, that was racing, or the earlier Tirana anyway, was racing this, the GTHO. Of course, the Tirana we saw before was a little bit later. That was the late 70s GTHO, a little bit earlier in the decade. Now for something completely different. A very, very old Mercedes, and that's followed by an equally old Porsche coming through the shot now. We really are finishing with some old machines in the Tour. And Austin Healey heading up the hill, followed by an Impreza. So we're not too far away now from the main competition, as I say. We've seen many of the tours come through. Of course, they've got 6 stages before they head down to Vic Park at the end of proceedings today. 3 o'clock, they're scheduled to arrive at Vic Park, 3 o'clock. At Vic Park, just before 3. That's when you can arrive and watch all the on-track action. So yes, we're not too far away from starting the outright competition. As we see, fans continue to drone in. So many fans here at the start of this stage. Of course, yesterday there's a lot of fans at Aldgate and Stirling watching all the action. That really was so many people. Windy Point as well, many people up Blair Road at Windy Point watching them around the left-handed hairpin, an iconic corner in South Australia, that legendary viewpoint there at Windy Point. Probably only beaten as a viewpoint by the one at the top of this hill, Mount Lofty. Of course, Friday's action was concluded with the Gucci Street Party, a fixture of the Adelaide Rally these days. Every Friday, the first day is ended with the Gucci Street Party. Gucci Street closed to cars, and it allows the Adelaide Rally machines to pull up and eat around the area. There's a real vibe and atmosphere down there. It really is a Gucci Street Party, as the name suggests. Brilliant event, real atmosphere. If you didn't go this year, urge you to go next year. As we see the 0V machine heading up the hill, one of the last course cars for the main tour comes through. So the Evo course car is queued up on the start line, and that will be the final course car to head up the hill before we commence the timed runs. So all the cars so far have just been for a bit of fun. Now we get into the serious stuff. These guys will be pushing very, 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 very hard indeed. One of the key stages to the rally, this one. As I say, they're not only competing for the overall victory, but on this stage alone, they're competing for the Mount Lofty stage win. And if they are fastest on the Mount Lofty stage, they will win the King of the Mountain trophy to be presented later this afternoon in Victoria Park. We're not too far away from the action. You are tuned in to the Bosch live stream. I'm Dan McCarthy. I'm talking you through the action here this morning on the third and final day of the Shannon's Adelaide Rally. Got to thank as well Calder Wealth Management, located at Mount Barker, Victor Harbour and Adelaide. A number of drivers are sponsored by the company this year, and they're a supporter of the event as well. Calder himself normally competes in the Adelaide Rally, but unfortunately not able to this year. I believe he's undergoing a knee reconstruction after a dirt bike accident. He's a former winner of the event, but not here this year. We're a few numbers down this year. That's mainly due to a few tarmac rally incidents in recent years, and as a result, Motorsport Australia have introduced some temporary changes to tarmac rallying. They'll be changed for next year, and the changes coming for next year, the regulations that are set to be introduced, will really benefit the Adelaide Rally. It really does suit tight, twisty rallies such as this one. So there'll be a limit of 130 kilometres an hour, which suits an event like this where you very, very rarely get to speeds like that. Such tight technical stages around the twisty and undulating Adelaide hills. As we see, the course car is lined up and ready to go. Once he takes off, and does now, I will talk you through the overall rally as it looks. Maybe a course car, but he's certainly pushing up the hill. So, as the rally stands, at the moment we have Lovell, car number 706, that leads the way. He briefly held a 43-second advantage, but that was trimmed back late yesterday afternoon to 28 seconds. Selly and McKendrick closing the gap down, and it certainly made for an interesting final day, because Lovell was beginning to really stretch out that margin, and it was really chomped into late yesterday. So Selly and McKendrick 28 seconds behind. In third we have Young. He's sort of sitting there by himself. He's around 30 seconds, 29 seconds ahead of the intense battle for fourth between Auld, Campbell, Cox, Mann and Koppelman. Fourth to eighth separated by just 17 seconds. There's 40 cars set to come through over the next 20 minutes. Unlike the Tours, which came out every 4 seconds, these cars are separated by 30 seconds. A bit more like an official rally, what you see in WRC or the Australian Rally Championship. Of course, you don't want competitors catching each other up as they're on the stage. They'll be held up, or much worse, they may even make contact with each other. So they're separated by 30 seconds to stop that from occurring. And as a result, we get to see all the action early on from each car as they go up the hill. So we're going to start with Selly and McKendrick, car number 701. As I say, they sit second position in the rally at the moment, closed the margin by 15 seconds late yesterday. The gap now down to 28 seconds with 8 stages to run today. Starting here, heading up to Mount Lofty and finishing at Victoria Park. So 8 stages to close a 28-second margin. Can it be done? Well, we'll find out later on this afternoon. But as it sits here, 15 seconds taken out late yesterday, 28 still to go. You can see his Mitsubishi Evo on the start line. He's racing a Subaru Impreza of Lovell. Lovell will be following soon after, as we look to the cars on the grid. Don't they look fantastic sitting there idling away? Sally, vast experience of rallying. And this car as well itself, the Evo, has a lot of history in rallying. Not just this very Evo, but the Evo itself, of course, very good history in the World Rally Championship in the late 90s and early noughties. The intense battle with Subaru, Lancer versus Impreza, and we're seeing that play out again this weekend. The battle for fourth, though, has a whole range of different models and makes, from Porsche, BMW, even a little Ford Escort in there as well. And the surprise for me of the event so far is that little Ford Escort, but also the Rover SD1 from 1979. There is a trophy for the classic cars as well, as we hear Selly lights it up and away he goes up the hill towards the first chicane. You can hear the turbo. Look at the speed. That's the fastest car I've seen through there, faster than any of the tour cars, that's for sure. Tries to get it settled, really bumpy on the outside of that hairpin. It's a really tricky corner, and he heads up the hill and dabs the brakes around the left-handed king. Here we are, here is the Escort I was just talking about. So this is Cox at the wheel, and away he goes. Oh, it's bogged down a little bit. Great initial launch, but bogged down before he got into second gear as he roars through the chicane in front of me, around the long left-hander and down towards the hairpin. As I say, very bumpy on the outside. Just there's a big bump. Look at that, cocking a wheel up front, right wheel lifting in the air, using all the track very nicely as he roars up the hill. Who do we have next? Can't quite see from where I am. It's a Lancer Evo, I can tell you that much. It's car number 713. 713. That is Young. That is Young. So sitting position number 3. Unlikely, I think, unless something dramatic happens, to catch the two ahead. He does still have to be a little bit wary of what is behind him, with less than 30 seconds splitting him and the intense battle for fourth position. Up next, a Mini Cooper. This is the Wallace Cunningham machine, just sitting inside the top 30 at this point in time. Completed all the stages so far with no penalties, which is exactly what you want. Now we've got Alden Barker, so Alden Barker coming into this final day with a 1 second advantage over 5th place, so they sit in 4th. Awesome sound as he motors up the hill and takes the turn into the hairpin. So yes, as I was saying, Alden Barker holding a minuscule 1 second margin in that very intense battle for 17 seconds separating 4th to 8th. Coming into the final day, Payne going down a gear into the chicane. The Payne and Payne combination currently sitting around about, I think that's 16th or 17th, around about there on the leaderboard in their 2003 Subaru WRX. Up next, 714. As he motors up the hill. 714, Ford Focus RS of the Stephen combination. They currently sit 30th position outright after the second day of competition. As you see, another Mitsubishi Lancer Evo lined up on the grid, and ready to roar towards turn number 1, as I say. 30-second intervals as we're seeing a recovery vehicle heading up the hill. So there's a brief pause in proceedings before we get back underway. While we have a quick hold, we're going to head and have a look at another package. We'll be back with more from the Shannon's Adelaide Rally.
Said, you know, why don't you do the rally? It comes right past our house. We had a little elfin clubman, and so we thought we'll just do it for 1 year. We'll get the car out, we'll have one go at doing this rally, and we got 2 days into it and blew the motor up, but that was enough to get us hooked. The thing that we like most about the Adelaide Rally, I think it's the roads are really good, the people are very friendly. For us, it's a proximity, it's nice and close. The roads being so close to the city means that you get the best of both worlds. We get these beautiful roads up in the hills, and then only 20 minutes away, you're back in the city with your mates for a beer at the end of the event. The thing that we're looking forward to most in 2022 is getting back with all of our friends and really, you know, getting out there with your fellow competitors and enjoying the event is really the main reason we do it. I have to say that my favourite stage is probably Chain of Ponds. Given where we live, it's very close to us and we know that road very well. In the last couple of years, we've been lucky enough to have a stage win a couple of times on that stage, so that holds a particular place in my heart. Other stages like the Gorge and Corkscrew are a lot of fun, and then as you head further south, Doctors Creek, some of those roads towards Strathalbyn are just fantastic. When we were looking for a car, we'd been driving our little Elfin and we needed something that was a bit more reliable and a bit more consistent. We were looking at the Datsuns, either a 240Z or a Datsun 1600. We knew that they were very popular rally cars, both of those back in the day, and we basically went looking for a 240Z or a 1600, and the first one that popped up was a 240Z, and we snapped it up. It's a 1972 car that we bought as a road car back in the 2000s and gradually turned into a rally car. Like all good rally cars, it's evolved over time. The first event, it just had brakes and shocks and not much else. Then we built an engine and then we made it a bit faster and we did some more stuff. We really love this car. It's a well-known car around South Australia. It's very popular out on the stages and it's been very good for us over the years. So for this year, we've done a fair bit of work actually. One of the weak links in our car has been the suspension, and so we've put a bit of energy into springs and shocks, and so that's the main work that we've done this year. I think this year, obviously, it's a little bit different. At the moment, we're running in the trophy category, which will be a new thing for us. We're looking forward to how we compete against those guys. It's been a very popular category in the last couple of years, with people going out and building cars almost specifically to run in that category. But it'll be interesting to see how it goes.
Beautiful, right? But look further. You'll see them. They're a restless bunch in search of beauty. There's the unyielding conquerors that won't take no for an answer. Yep, that's this place. Perfect for those who want a little more.
My name's Eddie Maguire, car 701, the Dodge Viper. Fantastic event. These little roads are quite different to what we're used to in Tasmania with some longer, faster stages, but thoroughly enjoying it. The concept's fantastic, the weather's awesome, really enjoying it.
Beautiful.
Welcome back. We're still waiting for track action to recommence. They're currently on the start grid the Beasley combination in their 2007 Mitsubishi Evo. They currently sit 20th on the standings. Really popular cars, the Evos and the Imprezas, and I can see, I believe, just behind the leader of the rally, Lovell, set to come through as well. And just as I'm talking to you, there are a couple of spots of rain in the breeze. Hopefully that holds off to keep things fair for all competitors. Of course, Selly in P2 has already gone through the stage, so if there's any water on the track, or on the stage I should say, Lovell would like it to be as dry as possible, of course, to keep things fair and keep his advantage as big as possible. His advantage that was chopped away late yesterday down to 28 seconds. As we see them all lined up, looking, a few of them opening the doors, getting a little bit of a breeze coming in. Of course, it's very warm inside those cars. A lot of them not running air conditionings like your road cars. They want to save their engine power as much as they possibly can. These really are souped up rally machines, very far from the road machines that you're used to seeing. As we can see, 7-Eleven a bit further back, he's got the door open. And it looks like we're about to have an interview. I'll throw down to the lads at the start line. They're just preparing, and I believe they're ready now. Down to you, lads.
2022 Adelaide Rally down here at the start line with Roger and his amazing piece of kit here, the Fiat. Tell us a bit about the car, Roger.
So it's a 1982 Fiat 131 Mirafiori. It's a car that we purchased out of Belgium, and it was a hill climb car back then, and we believe it's been rallied in Europe for most of its life, and then we picked it up and converted it to a tarmac rally car here. So this is its first real campaign. So it's a 2-litre Abarth motor gearbox with a 2-door body, very lightweight, so fiberglass panels. We put a new cage in it recently, updated all the seating and everything to spec, and just out here having a lot of fun.
Fantastic. And how's the rally been going for you guys so far?
We've really enjoyed it. It's been a fantastic event. The speed cap's been good for us as a classic car, so we're competing quite well. The car is a lot of fun, and I think the crowd likes it as well. It makes a lot of noise, doesn't go really quick, but I think that's part of it, and it puts a smile on a lot of people's faces.
Beautiful, and the livery looks astonishing. So what's the inspiration there?
Okay, so the original cars in the 70s and 80s were sponsored by Alitalia. Now, Alitalia is now a defunct airline, but at the time they were sponsoring the Fiat group, and this is actually the livery it came with out of Europe. So we thought it's actually not perfect, and that's what we like about the car. There's a little scratch, a little dent, a little chip, and a little, bang here and there. So we see that as a little bit more authentic. So that's why we've kept it as is.
Just a little bit of history and just showing its age and showing that it's lived.
That's exactly right. Showing that it's actually competed in the past, and I think that's the most important part. We won't really restore it too much. I think we'll just tidy it up a little bit more, make it go a little faster, which would be lovely. But apart from that, I think we'll just leave it in its iconic livery.
Fantastic. I think you can't really go wrong with Alitalia. So, fantastic stuff there, and we'll head back upstairs and hopefully be back racing soon.
All right, thanks very much for that down there at the start grid. Very interesting information. Great to have a chat with some of the competitors down there on the start line. Such a unique machine, that one, of the 714 car. We're unsure exactly of what's happening at the moment. There's a bit of a pause still in proceedings, so bear with us. As we saw, we did see the recovery team head up the hill, but we're not going to speculate on anything that has happened at this point in time. We don't know what's happened. Of course, the 7.4 kilometre stage, it's quite a hill up to Mount Lofty. So we continue to wait. You can see officials hard at work, 326 officials in total to make this Adelaide rally happen, and don't they do a magnificent job, of course, while this stage is going on. Of course, because there's so many cars, over an hour of car action, coming through each stage. The next stage and even the stage beyond that has already commenced. So 6 stages before they finish down at Victoria Park. That's the 8th and final stage of the day. So we're still continuing on hold at this point in time. I've got a couple of water spots on my glasses, so just in the breeze again, a little bit of rain, but nothing to wet the stage. I'm just looking at the stages to come later on today. So Mylor's already commenced, as has Strathalbyn Hill, Balls Creek, Doctors Creek, Aldgate Valley and Sturt Valley yet to come before the rally concludes at Vic Park. So yeah, that commences just before 3 o'clock this afternoon. We see the 999 Peugeot 205 parked at the front. That's normally the final vehicle. That signals the 999 car that that's the end of the stage. So that normally follows all the rally cars. So the fact it's pulled to the front signals to me that this may be the end of the stage of Mount Lofty, but I have not yet got official confirmation of that from turn number 1 on the stage, about 200 metres down on the left-hand side. So we're just waiting on official confirmation at this point in time. But yes, the 999 Peugeot 205 normally follows the cars. It's the last one to go around before the officials reopen the road once again. So I think it's significant that that is now in front of the next car to head out the the 20th place combination in the Mitsubishi Evo. 20th position, of course, at this point. 20th position this time, the Beasley combination. Sully, of course, in position number 2 in a Mitsubishi Evo. Getting my Evo drivers mixed up there. So yeah, 715 Beasley and Beasley. 20th position overall at the moment. They're in a tight little battle actually. It's really tight down the back of the top 10, as I've said already, but also around that 12 to 20 mark, around there as well. Really tight in the order. If I look at Beasley and Beasley, they're only 6 seconds behind Latkins and Wood in their 1985 BMW E30. So it's all to play for up and down the field still. Zimmerman and Zimmerman in their 2016 Ford Focus. They're several places ahead. They're the best returning entrants from last year. They've had a 1 minute 20-second penalty though, and that's what leaves them currently down in 15th position. Without that, they'd be a lot further forwards. They'd be just outside the top 10. They'd be in that intense battle from about 4th to 10th, so that's dropped them down. The, as I say, the best of the returning entrants this year. So Lovell, if this stage is indeed cancelled, it's Lovell that will hold the lead, because essentially this stage, none of the times that have already been recorded will count, and there'll be a little bit of a reset. If you're watching the Bosch Motorsport live stream from the top of Mount Lofty, I'm sure you've enjoyed what you have seen so far. We are just under a delay at this point in time. No cars heading up the stage. Just waiting for confirmation on what exactly is going to happen in the next couple of minutes. With the Peugeot 205 now in front of the pack. It's a great stage just on the Mount Lofty stage, as we've seen all the cars come through heading up the hill. It really is a phenomenal run. Not only the elevation of these first few corners, but that elevation continues for 7.5 kilometres all the way up to the highest point in South Australia, Mount Lofty, right by the Cleland Wildlife Park. Of course, the Cleland Wildlife Park is, it has all native vehicles vehicles. I've just seen a vehicle in front of me. All native animals, and yeah, all that you can imagine. Unlike the Adelaide Zoo in the centre of Adelaide, that's got your more. And it's got your native animals, but also the likes of pandas, lions, of course the legendary pandas, the only ones I believe in the southern hemisphere, certainly in Australia, wang wang and funi at the Adelaide Zoo. There's so much to see and do in South Australia, the awesome Riverlands, the Florio Peninsula down there, some great places to visit, that is for sure. Victor Harbour, of course. Schoolies going on this week. All the Year 12 graduates are down there enjoying themselves. Obviously there's some up at the Gold Coast, but in South Australia, if you want to go local, you can go to Victor Harbour on the Florio Peninsula, and that's not too far from the Adelaide CBD and where we are now, only around an hour's drive away. Good little area down there. If you've not been South Australia before, there is certainly a lot of things to see and do. As I say, Flinders Ranges, that's north of the city, the other way. In whichever direction you go, and there's different landscapes. North you have the Flinders, the outback sort of ranges. Down south you got the trees and the wildlife parks or conservation parks, such as Deep Creek down there on the Florio Peninsula. So there's certainly a lot to see and do. Victor Harbour as well. I'm seeing a few movements of recovery vehicles, and the Peugeot is moving away, the 999 machine. As I say, that car normally follows the cars through at the end of the stage. That's normally the signal for the end of the stage, the last car to come through. However, that was moving at a rate of knots. So I'm not entirely sure now. I'd have thought if it was moving at a rate of knots that it's just checking that the road's clear and we're ready to go again. You can see Beasley and Beasley, Peter and co-driver Fiona alongside. They're sitting on the start line. They've been there for quite some time. Doesn't that car look well presented? Really, really nice. I love the way the Toyota sits around the wheel arch. It really does look well presented, that machine. One of the best here. Of course, there's been a few tribute liveries that I keep talking about that I absolutely adore, but I really think that Evo's presented well. Of course, the yellow or green wheels, depends who you are on whether you'd say that they're yellow or green, but they look fantastic as well. Quite a few Evos running with those. You see the Kia Carnival with the officials all gathered around it, just discussing what exactly is the go. That's where we're based, that little hut in the centre of the shot. We are situated just at that first couple of corners, just waiting to see what is to come. You can see there's a few houses hidden in behind the trees, and that's part of the Adelaide Hills really. There are houses around the Adelaide Hills, but they're just so well hidden by the trees and the greenery that surrounds the Adelaide CBD, the Adelaide suburbs, surrounded by greenery, hills north and south of the city. Still awaiting official confirmation on what is to happen. We're just on hold at this point in time. Of course, later on this afternoon, Vic Park concludes this rally. A run around a shortened version of the Adelaide Street Circuit, Wakefield Road closed off. So the Parkland section and Wakefield Road will end this rally. Make sure you get down there to see these cars conclude what's becoming quite an exciting rally, particularly up the pointy end, with Selly closing the margin to Lovell as we enter this final day. But not only that, we've got roll racing action. Roll racing, drag racing, but from a rolling start, and in that there'll be Formula 1 cars pitched against supercars and hypercars. Sounds to me like engines are revving, and we are go once again. That's great news. Just received confirmation, yes, we are back go. So that's fantastic news. Although the Peugeot's gone through, that normally signals the final car to come through, we are back going. So we've seen the Beasley combination move through. And here is our rally leader, Lovell. A slightly different line to Selly around the first couple of corners. Got on the power nice and early and down towards the hairpin. Didn't use quite as much road on the inside. Yeah, sorry, on the outside, on the approach or on the exit. But that certainly looks quick. I don't think quite as quick as Selly. There are a couple of raindrops again. Maybe he saw them on the windscreen and held back ever so slightly. But I'm sure he will find the groove over the next 7.5 kilometres as he heads up the hill. Really happy to see that the stage has resumed. I did have my doubts, but the brilliant officials have done their work. The recovery team doing a magnificent job, and we are back underway once again. So thanks very much to all our volunteer marshals and officials for the job you've done this weekend, and particularly for the job you've done to get this stage back underway. As we see 7:19, we were just talking him down at the start line as he heads up the hill. Doesn't that sound good? The little Fiat, another car with a tribute livery and a tribute look about it, heads towards the hairpin. Bumpiness around there and up the hill once more using all the road. Really nice to see, and a good few spectators out of the hairpin now on the right hand side as well. As I say, spectators continue to flood the stage as it continues, as you see. And Impreza come towards turn number 1, 7:25 this machine. Doesn't it look good around the hairpin? Not using all the road on the outside, but that's to get a better line around the left-hander, and we didn't see any dab of the brakes, unlike what we've seen for some of the vehicles so far. Here comes another Impreza. This one, the 727 machine, heading up the hill. That's the Burbridge combination. Burbridge in the driver's seat, Burbridge in the passenger seat. 2004 WRX STI. They currently sit in position 16. Behind the Zimmerman combination I alluded to earlier. Now this is a car with a lot of history, of course, an MGB GT. Oh, it's making a bit of a racket. That doesn't sound quite right. There's a few squeaks and rattles underneath that engine note as it roars up and around the first few turns. It's certainly not firing quite right, that machine, I don't feel anyway. Here is the Zimmerman combination, say best returning pair from last year. They're in the same car, 2016 Ford Focus RS, currently sitting in 16th position, 15th position after penalties applied of 1 minute 20 seconds. They sit in position number 15 on the rally, looking really nice through these hairpins because Zimmerman knows these stages, or knows this stage and a lot of these stages quite well. You can smell some burnt rubber, so a bit of tyre spin off the line there for Zimmerman. I believe, as you see, the third place car, was third place, Campbell. Was third place early yesterday morning, but has slipped to 5th now. And only 1 second behind Olds in that Porsche 997 we saw earlier. So Campbell is 1 second behind. 4th place, and with an outside shot of a podium as well. Oh, bogged down, lucky to get that off the line. In the end, there's a real bog. The 711 machine of Koppelman, who's in that very, very intense battle from position 4 down. He's towards the tail of that battle coming into today. He's in 8th position. And that little bobble at the start of the stage would not be particularly good, but I only would have lost a second, maybe a second and a half maximum, I think. The man, excuse the pun, just ahead of him on the road, or behind him on the road, but ahead of him in the order by 1 second is this car. The man combination in the 2002 Subaru STI as they head towards the hairpin. A little bit of kick of oversteer heading in, but nice exit. Using a nice portion of the road there. That looked really nice. For the man-man combination, as I say, they should just 1 second ahead of Koppelman coming into this stage. Here's the beautiful sounding Citroen C4. Look at that from the drone camera. You can hear it and see it head up the hill towards the hairpin. 25 k's they recommend for the tight left-handed and right-handed chicane. These cars are all going faster than that. That is for certain. So much wheel spin. So much wheel spin for Joe Raymond. As I say, in the 1979 Rover SD1. One of the loudest cars here this weekend. So much power going to those rear wheels. Got to be so smooth going up this hill. Beautiful livery, Texaco. Of course, Texaco Sierra briefly won the 1987 Bathurst 1000 before they were disqualified from the race. That, of course, ended up going to Peter Brock. Of course, that was his last Bathurst victory, his 9th Bathurst 1000 or 500/1000 victory back in 1987. Of course, he did go on to win the 24 Hours a few years later. That was the last of his 1000 wins back in 1987. As we see a Toyota 86 heading up the hill. Doty, 2014 machine, sits 12th currently. And not too far outside the top 10, only 11 seconds, and you can see why. Really planted, really smooth, nicely driven in the early part of this stage. Certainly using all the road, not as powerful as a lot of these cars, such as this Porsche on the start line. They're using the handling of that 86 to great effect. This is another brilliant looking machine, a 730 Porsche. 730 of Hedge, 1985 Porsche. Still looks as good as it always has done. I can still hear it now, even though it's past our camera section. It's still roaring, the flat 6 motor up the hill. And here we have a Mini Cooper S. This is the 731 combo. Not quite as competitive. It's in the same league as the 86 in the sense that this makes up all its time in the corners. So nicely suited to a stage like this, around the tight technical stuff, but of course loses up a hill like that. Waving to the camera, looking forward to getting going, and away he goes. He was again saying hello to mom and dad as he did yesterday. How good. Maybe an old Corolla from 30 years ago, but that is being driven as hard and as fast as it can possibly be, using all the road on the outside, all the road on the exit as well. That is a well-driven Corolla, that is for certain. Really, really good effort, and they are doing so well in that machine. It's incredible to think that 1991 Corolla is 17th overall, fighting Mitsubishi Evos and Subaru WRXs. That really is a superb effort from those guys, as we see the Nissan roaring up the hill now. The 738 machine of Engel at the wheel, 1993 Nissan. Of course, Nissan had just been booted out the Australian, well, not booted out the Australian Touring Car Championship, but of course the regulations only allowed 4 Ford and a Holden after 1992. How good does that sound? I'll let you listen again on the exit of the hairpin. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Eaton and Herman in their 1979 Porsche 911. They're doing nicely. They're sitting in position number 14 at the moment. It's a bit of a gap between 13th and 14th. It's unlikely that they'll get any higher than that, but nevertheless 14th, a very good effort. The 741 car, not too far behind of Smith in the Nissan 300 ZX, quite a rare car that one. Heads up the hill. They're just to say a couple of places behind in 18th position. Really tightly matched, only 18 seconds on the car we just saw before that. So I would say really tight in the back end of the teens. Really tight from 4th to 8th and the back end of the teens as well. Something a little bit different, a little polo heading up the hill as well. Now it's the 737 BMW. Connolly in 31st position overall. Completed all the stages, ended day 1 in 31st and continued that consistency to end day number 2 in 31st position, also in the 1990 BMW 325i. Up next, we go to another Porsche. You can tell simply from the sound. You don't need to see a Porsche, do you, to know what it is? You just simply need to hear it. Iconic flat 6 motor turns into the hairpin. I'll let you listen one more time. Awesome, awesome. And this will sound awesome as well. 1978 Holden. John Crabb at the wheel of the iconic Aussie muscle car. Be a really tricky car to manhandle up this hill. 7.4 kilometers of road. Just a couple more cars to come. This Hyundai XL is one of them. 735. sits in position 32 at the moment. We do have one more machine after this. Oh no, a couple I believe of machines after this. So up goes the Hyundai, the front wheel drive machine. And for something very different, the 748 car. Taking things a little calmer than some of the cars we have previously seen. 748 in there, 1969, 1, 2, 4. It's aged well as well, hasn't it? 1969. It's not that old, that is for sure. That has been a nicely kept car. And that was indeed the final competitive car. This is car OB, which is following the cars through to finish the stage. So we'll follow the course car through. But that is the end of the competitive action this morning on the run to Mount Lofty, running up Green Hill Road and on to the Mount Lofty Summit Road. That is where we are headed later on this afternoon, Victoria Park in the Adelaide CBD. As I say, there's 6 more stages before then, but join us just before 3 o'clock. That's where we'll be, at Victoria Park. Make sure you get down there. Plenty of action, not only the final stage of the Adelaide Rally, but there'll be many supercar stars down there. Craig Lowndes, Brodie Kostecki, local hero Todd Hazelwood as well. There'll be Formula 1 cars, S5000s, old supercars and British touring cars as well. Plenty of action. Roll racing. There'll be roll racing, drag racing, but a rolling start. There's plenty to keep you entertained. So that will follow on from the final stage of the Adelaide Rally. Make sure you get down there this afternoon, about 3 o'clock. That wraps up the Bosch live stream from Mount Lofty. I'm Dan McCarthy. Thank you very much.